Hi again, my dear friends. Thank you so much for watching the short video about my life. Your love, comments, and support truly touched my heart. But that short story was just the beginning. Today, I want to take you deeper to show you the full journey of how a shy village girl who once mispronounced even the simplest English words slowly found her voice, her confidence, and her calling. This is not just my story, it's a story of hope, hard work, and how learning English changed my life. And I promise, as you listen, you won't only hear my journey, you'll also find your own path to improving your English, building your confidence, and believing in your dreams. So sit back, stay with me, and let's walk this road together. Because if I could do it, you can too. Let's begin. Hi, my name is Sofia. And today, I want to share with you the story of my life, where I came from, how I fell in love with English, the battles I fought with myself and the world, and how I turned my biggest weakness into my greatest strength. I was born in a small village in the southern part of India, a place where mango trees whispered in the wind, and people woke up with the sound of roosters and slept with the moon watching over them. Life was simple there, too simple for a girl like me who always had big questions and even bigger dreams. My father was a farmer. He worked with his hands from sunrise to sunset. My mother managed our home like it was her empire, cleaning, cooking, and taking care of me and my two younger brothers. We were not poor, but we were not rich either. We lived in a small house with three rooms, one fan, and a lot of love. The school in our village had mud walls and wooden benches. The blackboard always had a crack through the middle, and our English teacher, well, let's just say he tried his best. But English felt like a mystery to all of us, a foreign land with rules we didn't understand, and words that twisted our tongues. I still remember the first time I stood up in class to read an English sentence. The sun is shining, it said, but what came out of my mouth sounded like, the sun is shining. Everyone laughed. My cheeks burned. I sat down wishing I could disappear. But that moment, that pain, it planted a seed in me. I didn't know it then, but something inside me whispered, one day you'll speak English so well that people will listen, not laugh. After that embarrassing moment in class, I became obsessed with English. I began picking up old newspapers from the trash pile near the school. I would underline every word I didn't understand and copy them into a tattered notebook I carried everywhere. I didn't know their meanings, but I wrote them down like spells, hoping someday they would unlock something. One day, my uncle from the city came to visit. He brought with him an old phone that had no SIM card but still worked on Wi Fi. When he heard about my interest in English, he gave it to me. That day, I held the future in my hands, even if I didn't fully realize it. We had no internet at home, but my school had a tiny computer lab with a Wi Fi router. Every day, I stayed back after school, waiting until the teacher left, and I would sneak in just to download English videos and dictionary apps. I watched videos about pronunciation, children's stories, and even old English cartoons. Slowly, I started to understand. Not everything, but just enough to feel like the door was opening. Still, the real challenge was speaking. I practiced in front of the mirror. I read out loud under my blanket at night. I spoke to trees, to cows, to the stars, anyone or anything that wouldn't laugh. I made mistakes. So many mistakes. But each time I reminded myself of the girl who had been laughed at in class. When I reached high school, I started participating in English elocution competitions. The first time, I forgot half my speech and ran off stage crying. But the second time, I finished it. And the third time, I won third place. My parents started to believe in me. My teachers noticed me. My dream was no longer a joke, it was becoming a plan. I applied for an English language program offered by a non-profit. To my surprise, I was selected. It meant traveling to a nearby city every weekend for classes. We didn't have the money, but my mother sold her gold earrings to pay for the train fare. And that's how I entered a new world. A world where people discussed ideas, read books, watched English movies, and used words like motivation, perspective, and transformation. It was difficult to keep up. I was still the girl from the village with shaky grammar and a strong accent, but I was also the girl who stayed up past midnight repeating English phrases until I could say them smoothly. After 1 year, I gave a speech entirely in English at a regional youth summit. The applause I received that day was not just for the speech, it was for the journey I had taken to reach that microphone. That speech changed my life. A video of it was shared on the nonprofit's website, and from there, something unexpected happened. A woman named Claire, an English teacher from London volunteering in India, saw it. She contacted the program and asked if she could mentor me. And just like that, I had my first international friend. Claire and I would speak on video calls once a week. In the beginning, I barely understood her accent, but she was patient. She would slow down, explain expressions, and laugh with me, not at me. Every conversation with her was like climbing a hill, exhausting, but with a beautiful view at the end. She introduced me to classic English literature, podcasts, TED Talks, and even taught me how to write essays and emails properly. I began helping my juniors in school. Teaching them what I had learned, I discovered that the best way to master something is to teach it. Claire encouraged me to apply for an exchange program in the UK. I hesitated. Who was I to dream that big? But she believed in me so much that I started to believe in myself. With her help, I prepared my application, wrote essays, gathered recommendation letters, and submitted it. I still remember the day the acceptance email arrived. I cried so hard, my mother thought something bad had happened. When she found out, she cried too. Happy tears. Flying on a plane for the first time felt unreal. London was a completely different universe. Cold, fast, diverse, and exciting. At first, I felt invisible. Then slowly, I began to speak up, join clubs, attend lectures, and make friends. People respected my story. They admired my dedication, and that gave me confidence. During that year, I delivered my first speech in front of an international audience at a student conference. I started a blog to share my learning journey. Eventually, I became one of the top student ambassadors of the program. Now I'm back in India running my own spoken English coaching center for underprivileged students. I travel to different villages sharing my journey and helping others find their voice. Looking back, I realized something. Learning English was never just about grammar or vocabulary. It was about changing how I saw myself, from a shy village girl to a confident speaker, from being laughed at to being applauded. Every step mattered. And if you're listening today, wondering if you can do it too, yes, you can. If I can rise from cracked blackboards and whispered dreams to speak to the world, so can you. Because language is not just words, it's power, it's freedom, it's transformation. After returning to India, something inside me had changed. I had seen what was possible when someone believes in you, and more importantly, when you believe in yourself. I didn't want my story to end with just my success. I wanted to pass the light on to become the mentor I once needed. I began by teaching a few students under a banyan tree near my village. I called it the English tree. Word spread fast. Within a month, I had over 30 students, children, teenagers, and even some adults who came after work, their hands still covered in soil or factory dust. They brought notebooks, hopes, and the same fear I once had. We didn't just learn English, we built confidence. We practiced interviews, wrote essays, watched English movies with subtitles, and celebrated every small achievement. I made learning fun with games, role play, and storytelling. I told them stories of my journey so they'd know if I can, you can too. Soon, I started getting invitations to speak at schools and youth events. I shared my story with thousands of students, encouraging them not to let their backgrounds define their limits. I talked about the power of consistent practice, of staying curious, of never giving up even when the world seems to laugh. Eventually, with support from local donors and friends abroad, I was able to rent a small building and start my own English learning center, officially registered and open to all. We offer free classes to students from low income families, and we now have a library, a computer lab, and a wall filled with handwritten success stories. One of my proudest moments was when one of my first students, Priya, stood on a stage and gave a speech in perfect English. I stood in the crowd with tears in my eyes, remembering the girl who once whispered sentences to the stars. It felt like life had come full circle. Now, when I look at my journey, from the cracked blackboard in a village school to classrooms full of bright, brave learners, I know one thing for sure: language is more than just a tool, it's a torch. And once you've used it to find your way, it's your turn to help others see. Life has brought me full circle in more ways than one. These days, I'm not just teaching English, I'm building a movement. Through the foundation I've started, we now have learning centers in 4 villages and a mobile van that brings books, tablets, and lessons to even more remote areas. We've trained over 2,000 students and counting. Some are preparing for government exams, others for college, and some just want to speak confidently at work or in front of others. But the most beautiful part? Many of my old students have become teachers themselves. The girl who once whispered English under her blanket now mentors a team of passionate young educators who understand that changing a life starts with a word. Beyond English, we now also teach life skills: how to write a resume, how to crack an interview, how to manage time and emotions. Because real empowerment comes when people believe in their voice and their value. Recently, I was invited to speak at an international education conference in Singapore. As I stood on stage with educators from all over the world watching, I shared my journey once more, not for applause, but to represent every girl from a forgotten village who dares to dream. When I looked into the crowd that day, I didn't just see professionals. I saw my younger self, scared but hopeful. And I told her, "We made it. Today I still live in my village, though I travel often. I built a new home for my parents, one with more than one fan. I take morning walks under the same mango trees. But now children run up to me and say, 'Didi, teach me English.' My journey is far from over. But every day I wake up knowing my words have the power to change someone's world, just as they changed mine. So, to anyone listening, don't be afraid of where you start. Don't let laughter stop you. Don't wait for perfect English to begin. Just begin. Because the road to your dreams isn't written in flawless grammar, it's written in courage. There's a moment that returns to me often, like a quiet whisper in the wind. It's the memory of that little girl sitting on a cracked wooden bench, fumbling with English words that felt too big for her mouth. She had no idea how far those tiny, trembling syllables would take her. But she had something more powerful than knowledge. She had belief, soft at first, but growing stronger every time she chose to try again. Now, as I look at the world I've helped shape, I carry that girl with me everywhere I go. This past year, I've been working on something very close to my heart: a digital platform called English Echo. It's a free app designed for rural learners like me, filled with story based lessons, local language support, and community challenges. The goal? To make English learning accessible, fun, and rooted in real life use. We feature stories from students across India, each one narrated in their voice, with their accent, their courage. Because I've learned that fluency is not about sounding like someone else, it's about sounding like the best version of yourself. When I first started, I thought my journey was about me, about overcoming, achieving, rising. But now I see that it was never just mine. My story belongs to every student who hides a dictionary under their pillow, every mother who sells her jewelry to send her child to school, every teacher who stays late to help one more child read a sentence without fear. A few months ago, I visited my old village school. The same cracked blackboard was still there, but something else had changed. The classroom was filled with voices, confident, curious, fearless voices practicing English together. The teacher smiled at me and said, "You started this fire, Sophia. But the truth is, I just lit the first match. I've started writing a book, a story of my journey, yes, but also a guide for anyone who wants to rise through language. I hope it reaches the hands of someone just like I was, unsure, unheard, but quietly burning with potential. And as I look to the future, I dream not of applause or titles, but of millions of voices rising from villages, towns, and cities, each one telling their story in English or any language they choose. Voices that carry dreams, voices that challenge limits, voices that, once silent, now shape the world. Because language is not just a skill, it's a bridge. And when you cross it, you don't just change your life, you change the lives of everyone who dares to follow your footsteps. So here I am, years later, still learning, still teaching, still dreaming, still that village girl with stars in her eyes. And now a microphone in her hand. To you who listen to my story, thank you. Now it's your turn to tell yours. With love and light, Sophia.